Today on our 2015 Ram 2500, we're going to be taking a look at the B&W Custom Underbed Installation Kit for B&W Companion fifth wheel trailer hitches, part number BWG NRK 1384-5W. This fifth wheel installation kit is designed to let you install your B&W Companion fifth wheel trailer hitches. The adapters are part number BWR VK3500 or part number BWR VK3400. The underbed design of this kit allows for full truck bed access when you're ready. It's under 5 minutes to convert your empty truck bed into a fifth wheel hitch. We'll start by unlocking our B&W hitch and installing our fifth wheel adapter. We have ours pre-assembled, but you can adjust the uprights here depending on your truck and trailer combination. At this point, the hitch is ready to attach to the trailer. There's a little clip here that you can release. Basically, it's a safety pin. Then you can swing the handle out and you can watch the jaws open. You're ready to back onto your trailer. Once you're secure onto the trailer, you can reinstall the clip. And since the fifth wheel installation kit doubles as a gooseneck hitch, when you're not towing your fifth wheel, you can remove it, and this frees up the hole to reinsert the hitch ball when you need it. As you can see, it's going to be nice and flush with the bed here, and we're going to still have full access to put anything in or take anything out of our bed that we may need. Now here on our hitch receiver, you can see that it has a nice powder coat finish. That's going to help resist any rust or corrosion. It's going to have that nice clean look. Now here we have our safety chain loops, and they're spring loaded. So all we got to do is grab them and pull up, and they're there when we need them, and when we don't need them, they retract down and they sit pretty nice and flush with the bed. Now this kit is not going to require any welding, and it's going to use all the factory mounting points, so we're not going to have to drill into our frame. The only drilling that will be required is for the receiver opening here, as well as our safety chain loops. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go ahead and show you how we get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to need to remove our heat shield. Now you can already notice that I took down my spare tire. You don't have to, but it's going to make it easier, give us a little more headroom, and make it a little bit easier for you to see. So now we take down our heat shield. We're going to have 2 bolts here, as well as one here and one here. And I'm going to be using a 10mm socket to remove these bolts. We're going to go ahead and set this aside because we will be reinstalling it later. Now our exhaust is going to be lowered down to give us a little bit more room. I'm just going to take a little bit of penetrating oil and I'm going to spray it on my hanger here, just to help make it a little bit easier to remove. You can just take a pry bar, and if you're going to hook underneath behind the rubber isolator and push down on the exhaust pipe, and just keep working at it until it pops off. Now right above the exhaust, you're going to notice a round hole right here going right underneath our bed. Now I'm going to take our hole template, I'm going to put it in place just like that, and as you can see, it fits nice and snug right in there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a marker, we're going to mark a hole right through the template in the center section right there. With our hole marked, we're going to come back with a 1/4 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill right into the center of our hole there. If we move to the inside of our bed, this is where the hole we just drilled is at. Now we're going to need to drill a 3.5 inch diameter hole, and I'm going to be using a hole saw to do this. So here I have my hole saw, and here I just have a piece of wood that I had laying around, and I cut different size holes to fit my hole saw, so that way when I'm drilling my hole, I can stand on it and keep my bit secure, and I don't have to worry about scratching up my bed. I'm just going to take a black permanent marker. You can use pretty much anything you have laying around, a paint stick or anything, just to cover the edges where bare metal is showing. That way we don't have to worry about any rust or corrosion taking over our bed. Back under our truck, here's the hole we just cut in our cross member here. We're going to be taking our round spacer block, this plastic spacer block here, and we're going to take it, and with the flat side facing up, we're going to come back, and in between our cross member and our bed, we're going to take our spacer and we're going to slide it in between our bed and our cross member, and we're going to get it as centered as we can with our hole. Now here we have our fastener handles. Now we're going to be installing this onto each side of our truck. We're going to go in between our frame rail and our bed itself, and make sure that you keep in mind here on our driver's side we do have a wiring harness here. Now when we put this in place, we want to make sure that the nuts on our handle are facing upward and the handle is facing towards the outside. We're just going to get this over our wiring harness. We're going to slide it in place. Now it is a tight fit, it may take a little bit of patience. We're going to slide it as far in as we can, while still giving us access to our handle here. So if we come underneath our truck here, we're going to be lining up the holes here and here with the two that are on our handle. Now, the reason why we gave ourselves a little bit of extra room is so we can come out and grab and try to guide the bolt holes up with our holes in our cross member here. And I also have a flat blade screwdriver to help me align everything. Now that we have these holes lined up, we're going to go and repeat the same process on the other side. Now we're going to take our center section and we're going to put it in place. We're going to go over our exhaust. We're going to line up our holes for our mounting along with our handles. We're going to take our 5/8 flange bolts and we're going to put them in place. Now with all of our 5/8 bolts in place, hand tight, we can come back and we're using a 15/16 inch socket to tighten up my bolts. With all of our hardware tightened down, we're going to come back and we're going to torque down our 5/8 bolts. I'm going to be using a 15/16 socket and torquing them down to the amount specified in the instructions. And I'm going to repeat that process for the other 3 remaining bolts. Now with our hitch all torqued down, we're going to take our handle, and if we find the end that has the nice coating on it, it's going to be the actual handle part. We're going to come right behind our hitch here and right behind our gas tank. Now we need to be mindful of these brake lines and electrical components. We're going to slide our handle out towards the driver's side. And we're going to get it pretty close into position towards our latching mechanism on our hitch center section here. Now we can just let this sit for now. I'm going to come to the outside and I'm going to double check that the position of my handle is in the general area where I want it, and it's in between my frame and it's not interfering with any of my electrical components or anything else. Now we're going to be attaching our handle to our latch mechanism on our hitch using 3/8 carriage bolts. I'm just going to come to the back of our hitch here, slide one and the other into place. I'm going to take my handle and position it over my bolts. I'm going to come back with our 3/8 flange nut. I'm going to just loosely put them on, just like that. Then we're going to come back and tighten them down. Now I'm going to be using a 9/16 socket to tighten these down. Now inside our truck bed, here we can see our center section bolted in place. Now we're going to take the ball that came with our kit, and we're going to just set it down into place. Now I do want to mention, when we put our ball in place, we're going to want our latch engaged so that the ball is sitting right on that pin. We don't need it to sit all the way down. We just want it sitting right on top of that pin there, just like that. Then we're going to take our safety chain U-bolt drill guide that's included with our kit, and we're going to slide the template right over our ball, making sure that the holes are going towards the tailgate of our truck. Now with our template in place, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and square, because there is a little bit of movement here, but we're going to make sure that it's nice and square with the edges and the ribs in our bed. Now once we have it nice and square where we want it sitting, we're going to be marking the holes corresponding with our directions, and in this case it'll be the 1384. We're going to mark both holes as well as the other two on the other side. With our holes marked, we can go ahead and remove our ball and our template and set them aside for now. Now we're going to need to drill out the 4 marks that I made to a 1/2 inch hole. Now I'm going to start out with a small drill bit, and I'm going to be drilling all the way through the bed, the frame, and the cross members. So it may take a little bit, but I'm going to start out with a small drill bit to make it a little bit easier when I drill my final 1/2 inch size hole. And we're going to repeat that same process for the other 3 remaining holes. With our pilot holes drilled, I'm going to come back with a 1/2 inch drill bit and drill the rest of the hole out. Now that we have our final hole drilled, we're going to go ahead and repeat the same process for the 3 remaining holes. With our holes drilled, we can go ahead and take our U-bolts and we're going to slide them down just like that. Now we can go back underneath the truck and secure these with our hardware. So here are our U-bolts underneath, and now we're going to be following it up. We're going to take this spring and we're going to put it with the bigger end going towards the top of our truck. So I'm going to put it in place like that, and that's going to be followed by a 1/2 inch nut. We only need to tighten the nut until it's nice and flush. The bolt is flush with the bottom of the nut. And we'll repeat that same process for the other remaining U-bolts. With our 1/2 inch nuts loosely in place, I'm going to come back and use a 3/4 inch socket and tighten them up until it's at least flush. The nut is flush with the bottom of the bolt. Now here on the driver's side rear wheel well, here's where our handle's coming out. Now I went ahead and wiped down our frame rail because I'm going to be taking the provided sticker, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the frame, put my sticker right here. And like I said, I already cleaned my frame rail, so it's going to stick nice and well. And it has directions of how the handle works. Pull the handle out, move it left to lock it open, and then move it right and push it in to engage the latch. Now with everything in place, all we have left is to put our exhaust back up and put our heat shield back into place. And that'll finish up the look at the custom Underbed installation kit for B&W Companion 5th wheel trailer hitches, part number BWG NRK 1384-5W on our 2015 Ram 2500.